You're listening to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast.
You did an interview with Jay, that Aussie metal guy, back in like late 2020 when you were talking about the day the clock stopped. You mentioned that a friend of yours was playing a song, your song "Sleepless Angels," for their kid to fall asleep, and it was actually working. First off, because this is like 2 years or so ago. First off, does she still do that, or is the kid craving for 2112 now?
I don't know. Oh my god! No, it's interesting because that was there was this friend of mine, and she had a wow. The one story you picked out. I don't know. I think the kid kind of got over the needing music to fall asleep phase in a certain way, you know. But I get why Sleepless Angels work, because she actually loved the record, you know, for the record being the record. But I get why that song is a good pick, because it's so dreamy. And you can actually play it on loop. You can play it on loop, and it will loop relatively well, I guess. So by that logic, you know, I get why it could be a good fit. But I remember hearing that and just thinking like, oh, I just hope she doesn't understand what this is about.
I hope she doesn't read the lyrics as a bedtime story. Because I think
we're listening to a grown man die. Okay,
yeah,
kids.
I think the way you described it too with Jay was that it's both adorable and macabre at the exact same time.
It's like it's okay. This is fucked. It's also but it's also fucked. You know, it's both.
Yeah, but it's like, it's just like, this is nice. You read the lyrics. I think that's also the exact way you described it too. It's like, this is an kind of song.
Yeah. Well, but to be fair, it's like what I noticed with the days the clock stopped. It's interesting because what I felt, I'm not gonna lie. There's still moments. I mean, I work so hard and I do so many things, and sometimes things reach thousands of people. Sometimes they don't. And it's like, if there's a certain expectancy that you have in life, like, okay, if you work hard enough, you're going to reach those bigger crowds, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't. I'll just be honest. Like, you know, I reach a relatively small crowd, but I reach a dedicated crowd. And I've learned by now that I've seen bands actually reach those bigger crowds out of nowhere, like bands that have one album out and that suddenly explodes or whatever. And they are never happy. You know, they're never actually happy at that point, because it only means you want to go for more. It only means that you'll never be satisfied. And
you gotta chase that high all the time.
Yeah, basically that. And it's a bit like that South Park, you know, chasing a dragon. Catch me, you know, like that kind of attitude. And I tend to think now that even though we all have our moments of weakness, we all have our moments of thinking, oh, fuck, you know, like why are things not exploding as big as I would want it to or whatever, because there's always that ambition in your brain. But I'm now also kind of at ease with the fact that if I have, say, 200 people worldwide actively listening, and I know there's more, but if that is the crowd that actually buys your record, sits down, reads the lyrics, actively takes it in this day and age of overwhelming amounts of info being bestowed upon you every day, then that is actually so valuable. That means so much more than the higher sales numbers or whatever, because it means that I've actually legitimately reached someone. And weirdly enough, that kid, I think the kid was like, what, 3 or 4 at that point?
You mentioned in the interview it was like 5 months at the time.
Oh, we're really, really tiny then. Yeah, no, it's like, I know the thing is, it's not just one kid. Like, I've heard this from multiple people, but it's like that kid has heard this now and will internalize it. And I like the idea that at a certain point, that kid might be like, what, 20? Might be like, there's this weird melody in my head, and for the love of God, I cannot.
Yeah.
And then starts YouTubing, and then finds the video or whatever. And I love the romance in that. I love the fact that they might find a video and then realize, like, my mom was a sick lady. That kind of situation. You know, like, why was she playing me this? I don't know.
I mean, when you really think about it, like most songs that we hear as kids, like whether they are like actual like songs that are made for commercial radio or for commercial purposes, or just lullabies of some kind. Like, you ever heard of the song "Ring Around a Rosie"? Like, you know.
I've heard it, but I don't know it. It's a very American thing, obviously. So it's
Yeah. It's like pocket full of posies. Like, you look up the lyrics and you look at the meaning behind like "Ring Around the Rosie," "Pocket Full of Posies," and you realize, oh, this is supposed to be for kids.
It sounds happy, at least.
It sounds happy. That's the important thing.
Yeah. And you can repeat it a million times, and oh man, yeah. That is, but to be fair, it's the same with fairy tales. I mean, you got to realize that most of the fairy tales, Red Riding Hood, Snow White, the Seven Dwarfs, all these things had dark fucking origins, man. It's like, obviously the versions that we got fed say, and then, I mean, we have a bit of a generation gap, but when I was like younger in the 90s and you're younger in the early 2000s, it's like the versions we got read obviously were kidified. But if you read the original versions are dark as fuck.
Oh yeah.
It's all death. It's all death and decay and just, whoa, you know.
Oh yeah, like the original story for Little Mermaid was pretty fucked up. Original story, like Disney movies in general have like kidified. Oh, the original story of Pocahontas. The original story for Hansel and Gretel, which not Disney, but still. There's so many like. Yeah,
that's a lot of death. Hansel and Gretel. Yeah.
The Three Little Pigs. Like, there's so many like dark origins to kids stories. All of a sudden, like modern days, like we should probably like reword a couple of things here.
you know. Okay, it's like I could just imagine a pitch of like a boardroom, and then like one of these people of the original 1600 comes in. It's like, I wrote a fairy tale, and then he reads it, and then like there's like three people on the other side. That's like, yeah, okay, Hans. We appreciate the message, but it might need some tweaking. You might want to take some of that edges off, a bit less death, but maybe.
A little bit of rephrasing, like the child death is definitely not a good thing.
It is really good. It just needs a little bit of work,
Needs a bit of magic. How about we add a catchy song that's going to be remembered for years to come? That'll make it kiddie friendly.
Which just happens to be extremely sellable, and we can slam on the lunchboxes. But that's beside the point.
Exactly. Next thing you know, under the sea.
I mean, dude, I love Little Mermaid, though. It's a great movie, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
It's like, if you read the original, it's like, wow. Yeah, okay. That happened.
You just listened to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast.